This is a white cloth used for wiping off parts. This is a brush used for brushing big parts, and this is a small brush used for brushing small parts. This is a star screw, and this is a flat screw. They are both used for screws.
So the first thing we need to do inside the system unit is to unplug the wires attached to the motherboard. These 4 sets of power panels is for the HD LED power switch, the reset switch, and for the different universal serial buses and audio slots seen in front of the system unit. Next thing is disconnect the SATA connector, which connects the SATA hard disk drive to the SATA port on the motherboard. The next is the SATA power cable, which gives power to the SATA hard disk drive. These are the power supply cables. These are the different cables that built in to the power supply that gives power to the motherboard and the other system unit components. After all the wires have been put out, next thing we will do is remove the RAM from the motherboard. The RAM, or the random access memory, functions as a short-term memory for computers. So you use the star screws to loosen the hard drive from its place. Hard disk drive can store large amount of data on the computer. It has read and write capabilities, and the information stays there even if the computer is turned off. The next thing that we will be removing from the system unit is the motherboard. The motherboard acts as the main circuit board that connects and communicates to all the devices and components attached. It also facilitates the communication of devices with each other. This is the PCI model. This is usually for wireless internet connection. Now this is the CPU fan. This is simply used to prevent overheating of the CPU on the motherboard. It is always intact with a large heatsink. These are the RAM slots used to hold the RAM modules. These are the PCI slots. And this is the slots for the 4 power panels. This is where you connect the SATA for the hard drive. And these are the different peripherals of the system unit. Use the flat screw to unscrew the lock of the CPU, fan, and the heatsink. So this is the heatsink and this is the CPU fan. Now we will remove the CPU from the CPU socket. The CPU, or the Central Processing Unit, controls the functions of most electronic products. The CPU accepts the input data, processes the information, and sends it to the component. Use the brush in dusting off the motherboard.
Assembling, we put the CPU inside. After cleaning, click.
Now we will put back the RAM into the motherboard. It provides temporary data storage and it is accessible through the CPU. You will know that your RAM is locked when you hear it click and locking it into the RAM slots. Now I'll put back the motherboard into the system unit. Make sure that all the peripherals at the back of the system unit are seen and can be functional before you screw the motherboard on the system unit. Next up, we will assemble the hard disk drive into the base of the system unit. Use the star screws in locking the hard drive into its place. Next, we will connect the SATA power cable and the SATA connector to the SATA hard disk drive, and we will plug the CPU fan connector to the motherboard. Plug all the 4 sets of power panels into the motherboard. Put back the PCI on the PCI slot, which is an older technology of PCI that is used to install various expansion cards such as LAN card.